both of the candidates, what is your position on term limits for federal judges? What are the reasons for that position? Mr. Malley, would you go first, please?
You know, that's a good one.
I don't think you're speaking.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
It is.
It's working. Is it on? You can hear it all right? You know, there's been an awful lot of discussion about term limits for federal judges. And you can probably come down on both sides of that, which that sounds like a good political answer. And of course the whole, which is very political, the whole issue is the independence of the judiciary. And term limits sounds good, and I will tell you, I have not heard Governor Dewhurst address this issue, so I'm not exactly sure where he would come down on it. But if you look at it, I'm not sure that we want to compromise the independence of our judiciary. Now, when we have the situation that we found here in Texas, of the 3-judge panel in San Antonio that ruled on our redistricting, then that certainly makes you pause and say, maybe there is a better way to deal with it than what we're dealing with right now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, I agree that we cannot compromise the independence of the judiciary. However, there is a provision in the Constitution for removing a federal judge on the basis of character. If you read what it says about the judges, it says that they will remain in their post as long as they have good character. In other words, if there is something that is it is a violation of their character, like for example, when we saw Justice Ginsburg apologize, I guess it was in South Africa, saying that our constitution was outdated and that if any country wanted to use a constitution as a model, they should use the Constitution of South Africa. I consider that bordering on treason. And certainly, to me, that violates that qualification of character, and I think that is a constitutional way that a judge could be removed. And now, on the area of term limits, I would like to just expand a little bit towards the challenge that we have in the Senate. You know, look at what happened in Indiana when Lugar had been there for 35 years. Obama called him his favorite Republican because he voted more with the Democrats than with the Republicans. Ted has committed to co-sponsor with Senator Jim DeMint a terms limit amendment to the Constitution to limit senators, U.S. senators, to 2 terms and limit congressmen to 3 terms. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. The next question is for both candidates. Do you support the President's Commission on Debt Reduction? The Simpson-Boyles Act.
Well, the challenge with any President's Commission is that they are there for show and nothing else. It is just something to make believe, just like Castro in Cuba has a Congress, but it's just there in the same manner that Obama disregards Congress here. We saw it since the beginning of the year when Obama said in the State of the Union address, if Congress does not act, I will act unilaterally. And he has been doing that over and over and over again, governing by decree. So he will put all these commissions to give an appearance, but the appearance is not reality. As a matter of fact, as I understand, that commission has not met in the last 6 months. So it is just more of show than reality. But it is more fundamental than that. This president has no desire to improve the economy. He has no desire to help business. On the contrary, we heard him just a week ago said, if you have been successful, if you build a business, you didn't build it yourself. You didn't do it by yourself. And so he is the most anti-business president we have ever had. So all these things that he will tell you, he has a jobs commission, he He also told us just a few weeks ago that there's no problem in the private sector. The problem is with the public sector. We don't need any more public sector jobs. We need to get all those bureaucrats out of government.
All right, next question is,
I think that's a little tough act to follow there, but I don't think I disagree. I'm not sure I followed all of it, but I don't believe I disagree with very much. You know, the concept of the Presidential Commission was the concept as it was laid out to us as the citizens of this nation was good. They just didn't function as we thought they would. And you can blame Democrats and Republicans for that. It was made up with each party. I have a problem with members of both parties right now. The fact that we have political gridlock and they are not moving the business of our nation forward. So I guess I don't have a problem with the commission. I have a problem with the fact that they didn't do anything, which has been the history of our Congress for the last several sessions, both Democrats and Republicans.
thank you. Next question goes right along that line. This is for both of you. What do you say about the comments that the following are obsolete and have become undemocratic? The seniority system of leadership in the House and the Senate.
What was the beginning?
What do you say about the comments that the following are obsolete and have become undemocratic? The seniority system of leadership in the House and Senate.
I'm assuming that means for committee chairmanship.
I would say so.
Ranking members. Boy, this goes right to the heart of Congress, is the seniority system itself. Now I'm going to drop back to the Texas legislature just a moment. We do not have a formal seniority system in the Texas legislature. And as far as I'm concerned, the Texas legislature has functioned much more effectively than has the U.S. Congress with a seniority system.
I will have to agree along the same lines. You know, one of the areas that we do need to discriminate is on the basis of ability. You know, sometimes we have these rhinos that have been in Congress or in the Senate for 30 years, that in essence they remain in the Senate or in Congress for 30 years because their single purpose is, how am I going to get reelected? And sometimes, you know, it's like the old Peter's principle. People you know, they just rise to their own level of incompetence. And we see too much of that in both houses. We need to reward ability. We need to be open to new ideas. We need to be open to those that want to follow the Constitution, to take us down the path that Ronald Reagan laid out for us, following the framers of the Constitution, instead of continuing with business as usual, which is what the career politicians will get us to do.
Thank you very much. The next question is a little confusing to me, but it's for the Ted Cruz campaign. It said at the WFFA debate, Mr. Cruz stated he was in favor of a border fence and acquiring the land necessary to accomplish this goal. And Mr. Dewhurst said he favors hiring more Border Patrol agents. Who has the best idea?
Well, if you listen to the statement that Ted made, he said the following, and I will try to be as close as possible to what he said. He said, border security is of the utmost importance because it is a problem of national security. You know, Ted and I were at the border less than a month ago. We were in a town called Falfurrias, close to the border, talked to a group of ranchers and a group of volunteer Border Patrol observers. And they made some statements to us that were really, really shocking. They said, look, we see an average, this was just one farmer. He said, across my farm, I see an average of 35 to 40 illegals coming across weekly. And they come in pickup trucks. They just drive across the border. And he said the most scary part of it is over 60% are what they call OTMs, other than Mexican. And they said the majority of those other than Mexica are Middle Easterners, which means they're probably terrorists, and young Asian girls probably being brought over for sex trafficking. So we need to do everything humanly possible to shut down the border. Quoting Ted, that means fences, that means walls, that means drones and helicopters with infrared, and most importantly, it means tripling the size of the Border Patrol. We need to not just slow down illegal immigration, we need to cut it down to zero.
He said some real key points. How many of you have heard the statistics that he just laid out, the number of non-Mexicans that are coming across? You're not hearing that in the news media, the normal news media, and it is scary. I'm from South Texas. I don't live in deep South Texas, but I am a South Texan. I am a rancher, and I have friends that are all along the border, and you are not hearing on the regular media as to what is actually happening down there. The number of people that are dying out there in the brush trying to get over here. Now you've got different types of people that are coming. The drug runners, the human traffickers. As far as I'm concerned, I hope we can close that border and they can shoot those when they come across, that type. Now that's kind of harsh to say, but we don't know. We know there's a large number of Chinese coming across. Out in the brush, there are 911 stations put up by the Border Patrol. How many of you have been to South Texas? When I say the brush, do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's brush. It's called the brush country for a reason. And once they get a certain distance from the border, they're very hard to detect. I mean, to detect the movement of these people. But anyway, out in the brush, there is 911 stations. If a person can't make it, they feel like they're not going to be able to make that trek through the brush till they get to a pickup point where somebody will pick them up in a vehicle. They can go to that 911, and the instructions are written in English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. Now, have you heard anyone from Washington, the administration, talking about the number of Chinese that are coming across, let alone the Middle Eastern and the other nations? That's the scary part. The folks that are coming across, and I'm not for illegal immigration. Governor Dewhurst is not for illegal immigration. But there is the ones that are coming across that are strictly coming to work. They don't scare me. The others scare me. The ones that we don't know scare us. Border fence, there's been so much debate on that. It is effective in certain areas. But we're talking right now, our focus is the Mexican border. We haven't said a word about 4,000-mile Canadian border. We haven't said anything about the border around Alaska, around Hawaii, our seaports. The focus has been Mexico. And that's probably where the serious ones come in. But we had a flight school this past week that came to light that had an illegal person running it and had illegal students in there. So they're getting in. And so we've got to do all we can in all our borders or all of our entry points, not just the Mexican border. And the fence alone won't do it. There's going to have to be tripling or whatever size of the Border Patrol. We can shut it down if we get the will. Right now, Washington hadn't had the will.
Thank you very much.